With that? Okay, come on, come back. Brewers are making a game of this. They're going to bring the game around for a little bit. No question. We got a few more years to make it. We've been around long enough to realize that that's what we're happening that way. They went in 5 and 06, they came up here for a freaking team, and then they came back purple. They were a very limited playoff. I think they lost. Yeah. I think the White Sox lost.
They lost because of pitching.
Since they obviously stole signal.
Yeah. They had some pitching pretty good.
They obviously did get it, sir. The window isn't closed. They got years. That's what I was saying in 1990s. We did have to go in.
Bruce is just
We're seeing him in the back.
Let's get the candle going.
Good job. This is the October 12, 2021 meeting of the Woodstock Community Unit School District 200 Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please?
Dr. Bidwell? Here. Dr. Ferris? Mr. Gilmore?
Here.
Mr. Headley? Mr. Homa?
Present.
Mr. Maselli?
Here.
Mr. Parisi?
Here. Okay, first item on our agenda tonight is our consent agenda. Please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the consent agenda. There is also a personnel addendum. Take a moment, look through it, see if anybody has any items they wish to pull. If you do, let me know. Otherwise, when you're ready, there's a suggested motion in your material.
Move to waive the reading of and approve the consent agenda as printed in the board agenda, including the routine personnel matters addendum dated October 12, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Parisi, seconded by Mr. Maselli. Roll call, please.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Maselli?
Yes.
Dr. Bidwell? Yes. Mr. Homa?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes. Next item then is our communications. Communications are a time for community members and district employees to express their point of view, not to debate an issue. There's a sign-up sheet for the public to identify their name, address, phone number, name of the organization they represent, if any, and a brief description of the topic to be addressed. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes. And according to the board policy 2:230. If you have one member of the public who has signed up to address the board, we'll start with that. Anthony Barnes.
Check, check. Hello, my name is Anthony Barnes. I've been employed with the district for the past 4 years, and this morning I submitted a letter of resignation on behalf of regrettable actions occurring within the previous month. I'm speaking with you tonight and hope my words will spark faith that my involvement with the district is beneficial to faculty, working my best to provide a healthy, clean workspace setting that commands respect and provides a better learning environment for students. Though imperfect, I've always tried my best to digest instruction brought upon by experienced staff harnessing their efforts to mold myself into a competent employee. I've done my best to remediate issues with co-employees, voicing and acting in a respectful manner, in their knowledge to best guide me. I look back and regret my poor choices and only wish the board may grant forgiveness, allowing myself opportunity to better prove myself as a temporary custodial sub. I hold solidarity that I've always seek to present myself in a respectful manner, granting respect towards leaders and finding resolution in their guidance. I've learned to do my best with regards to keeping areas neat and clean, and though I've made mistakes, I've always strove to go above and beyond expectations. I know the district has had continuous difficulty in acquiring caring temporary subs, and feel my experience for quality work would make myself a valuable asset, helping fill voids when necessary. Looking back to my resignation, I take full accountability and acceptance for my mistakes, and only hope the board may have it in their hearts to seek value in my experience, granting the opportunity to triumph over errors and pursue a better workmanship. I also wish to extend a personal apology towards Mr. McAdow on behalf of proceedings that took place on October 2nd. Though I don't accept forgiveness, I hope you understand that my actions at the end of our meeting were derived from a place of fear and misunderstanding of the inner workings of the board's termination process. Please let it be known that I hold no anger or resentment towards the district and only hold appreciation for all the district's enabled myself to do for the past 4 years. From allowing me means to continue pursuing education post-work, to affording me the ability to take on my first major financial investments. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank all those who've helped guide me these past 4 years. I give thanks to Paulie, Joe, and Jose for granting me responsibility undertaking tasks above what would normally be expected of temporary employees, teaching me to operate heavy machinery and allowing me overtime activities. I also thank Brian, Cindy, Sarah, Mike, Tim, and Steve for your kindness alongside showing insight into better ways to engage in time management and completing activities. I thank Sandy, Ben, and Ryan for always being there for me in mental health within break time, speaking to me with openness and helping myself transgress personal problems. And finally, I thank Lisa, Don, Steve, Jeff, and Ken for always being great leaders who provide a healthy work environment. There's many more I'd like to address, though I have faith that we've conducted ourselves in a way that allowed our appreciation to be heard. I feel fortunate that I've embraced their guidance and feel sorrow that I allowed my shortcomings to get the best of me. With deepest regards to the board, I promise that if I'm allowed continual affiliation with District 200 schools, I'll hold motivation to correct past mistakes, seeking better actions to lead students. With great appreciation, I thank all those who have helped guide me and hope if enabled to continue affiliation with the district, I can alleviate past mistakes. Again, thank you for granting my employment for the past 4 years. I hope the board will allow forgiveness, allowing me the ability to prove myself as a competent employee as a temporary sub. With appreciation, thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming and good luck. Are there any other board members or any other members of the public who wish to address the board at this time? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to staff comments. Are there any staff comments? Board comments. Any board comments? There being no comments, no further comments, we'll close that section of the meeting. Next item is then the superintendent's report.
All right, we had parent-teacher conferences last week. We've had positive feedback on the conferences. We were virtual again as we were last year. So once we get back to a more normal post-COVID world, we're going to survey parents and see how they best want conferences to go going forward. Positive feedback on virtual conferences, but we still may have people that want a face-to-face conference as well. So once we get back to a point where we could do either, we'll survey and see where we're at before we make decisions going forward. I can't tell you when that's going to be, obviously, but when it does come, we do want to give parents that choice to see, where we are as far as staying virtual or having face-to-face once again. I met yesterday with SHIELD to work specifically on our test to stay option, which is incredibly important because the state's limited us now and they have to be in school. That's been a problem for us. SHIELD's working, having to test us the next couple of weeks. I think we may have more as early as tomorrow. And I hope to have tests to stay up and running by our next board meeting, or at least to have a solid date at that time. So I think that test to state is light at the end of the tunnel. On the actual testing, I don't think it's any different. Last time I told you 3 weeks ago, I got an email telling me that they would contact me in the next couple of days. So that we're still waiting on, and obviously Shield's still, you know, they're dealing with a lot statewide, but the test to stay option, I think we're going to have in place shortly, which is a big step for us, and we look forward to it. That's my report for the week.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business. Let's move into our new business. The first item of our new business is our 2021-2022 school improvement plan.
Back for the first time in a long time, we've got principals, and they're going to, happy to see you. We got 2 from each level, and they're just going to walk us through quickly a little bit what we're doing at each level for school improvement, just to give some highlights and talk about what's going on at each of our levels. So first, we'll start with elementary.
So I'll be talking to you about academics, and of course there's more to it than just literacy and math, but that's what I'm gonna focus on. Really, our literacy goals are really driven by some of the research and brain research behind the science of reading. And so we're continuing, we've added an interventionist at every level, at every school, as well as an RTI associate. What that does is it makes our intervention groups much smaller, more intense. And our professional development is going to focus on small group instruction. So in math, we're going to focus on the standards for mathematical practice and math acceleration at every single grade level. So we're also going to be focusing our professional development in math on depth over breadth. So really going deeper and talking about math talks and training our teachers on how to lead math talks at the elementary level.
So just kind of go off that quickly. Obviously, interventions at elementary, you look at literacy, we've got everyone reads, we've got that dedicated time, we've got win time. So our below grade level readers really are getting support in a number of different ways. But in the same token, so are above grade level readers. So I mean, that's the great thing about win time, is that we can meet the needs of all our different students during that period. So, and we often talk about, okay, we've got kids at every level, what are we doing at each level? The elementary level, I think they really are spot on right now, the way we're supporting kids and helping kids, specifically with that win time, that we really can give every kid what they need in that area, in that group.
Okay, so I have the social emotional learning piece at the elementary level, and in order to do all those great academic things, we really need to make sure we have our kids in a solid place from a social emotional standpoint. So a lot of what we're doing is based on the work we've done with Kristen Sowers, the first of which being that visual that you can see on the screen. We are working with our students and our families on the 10 things that the brain requires to be healthy and ready to learn. And kids are enjoying learning about these things, everything from having enough water to making sure you're getting enough sleep, so our kids' brains are primed and ready to go to do all those great academic things that Ryan talked about. In addition, every 6 to 8 weeks, our grade level teams are joined by our social workers and our school psychologists and building administrators to have social emotional problem solving meetings in which we can identify students who need a little extra support in this area, as well as brainstorm strategies to help our kids out. Last year you approved the hiring of additional social workers at every level, and we have really enjoyed having these staff members because they've been able to do additional lunch bunch groups where we work through different strategies with students, different coping mechanisms, as well as they've been able to do after school and even evening counseling sessions with students and families. So we really appreciate those additional social workers in our building. Just like we have literacy and math curriculum, we have a social emotional learning curriculum called Second Step, and every building is really committed to using Second Step this year on a weekly basis to work through a lot of different strategies with kids, especially as they're getting used to coming back to in-person learning. And then finally, everything that we're doing this year is really under the umbrella of trauma-invested practices that we learned from Kristen Sowers and just creating that culture of safety so our kids are feeling safe at school, excited to be there, engaged, and ready to learn. Thank you.
Any questions to the elementary?
Good evening.
At the middle school level, as Ryan Hart said, I'm going to be covering the academic piece and really focusing in on the math. And what we're focusing in on are common formative assessments on a weekly basis. So teachers are giving the exact same assessment, graded the exact same way, so that we can really use that PLC time to collaborate with one another and talk about the standards and talk about the skill deficits of kids, and then use that for small group instruction. One of the other biggest pieces that we're doing is our flexible math groups. So we're looking at parallel classes at the same grade level and using those common formative assessments to put kids together and combine the classes together, focused in on those skill deficits or enrichment opportunities. And then lastly, we have our AM blended math class this year, which is new, and it's 3 days a week before school. And again, this is really to push those kids to the next level, using that time to extend and enrich grade level standards. And you can see a quote there from one of our 6th graders. It says, "It gets my brain going early in the morning and helps prepare me for math class. Oh, and it's fun."
I think that blended really, because we're dealing with on grade level or even kids maybe who can extend above grade level, the reaction has been amazing. And, Bethany and Ryan can both speak to it that, I mean, the number of parents we invited that came was incredibly high. They're engaged, they're coming back. The teacher's really enjoying it. I know Bethany had a parent change jobs or something, but it all went around being able to get the kid to the AM flex math thing. I mean, people have really enjoyed this. I mean, you can talk about her and I can.
Yeah, she got a new job, and so she had to drop her daughter. She worked with me to figure out a different time to drop her daughter off because there was no way she was going to let her daughter not be in that program. So that to me is just a testament of the hard work of the students in there and the teacher and just the program itself. So it's exciting.
It's a little bit different than what we've done, of course, because, so often we put a lot of our energy intervention-wise into below grade level and making sure we have there. But we knew post-pandemic we're going to have to do it across the board. And this, this blended opportunity has been a great way to do that. And I think from the sounds of things, it's really worked in engaging kids and getting them.
And their confidence, I think that's a huge piece of that. They have the confidence to ask questions because it's in a smaller group, and then they feel more confident in their regular math class to do that as well.
We're really excited about where that's going so far.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the middle school's focus on our social emotional learning and our trauma focus. So in both of our buildings, we have a focus on the culture of safety. So for both of us, both at Creekside and Northwood, we have a leadership team made up of people from every grade level in different areas in our building, including social worker and office staff that are on a team, and we're doing a book study together to really focus on those relationships, both strengthening and repairing them, and then how we can support students with regulation. So that team plans to share things with their teams, at their meetings too. We're also currently evaluating our current practices and the relationship to those trauma-invested practices that we're learning about with our work with Kristen. Us at middle school, we're also going to involve that in our problem-solving process, just like elementary had spoke of. One thing we're really excited about middle school is for our advisory, we have a new social and emotional learning curriculum called Character Strong. Now there you can see the 8 different tenets that Character Strong focuses on. So every week our students meet with a connected teacher, so a teacher that they have during their school day, and a core group of students that kind of serves as their home base for advisory, and they go through different levels at different grade levels, and we're really excited to have this curriculum that's new to us this school year, and so far the feedback's been really positive. Thank you.
All over.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Does anybody else have any questions for Ms. Hall or Brian or anybody else? I have some, that's why I'm stopping. I don't like it. Because it's not going twice to go presentation. I guess I'm just lost, and I don't understand something. What is the definition of trauma, and why? I mean, trauma sounds like, I think of trauma center, and I think of something horrible. So why is that term being used, and what exactly do you mean by it?
Man, you really put me on the spot here, Carl. No. So our whole district has gone through this training. I know Dr. Mona spoke of that.
I saw the name in the materials, Kristen South. I don't know who she is or why everyone's real happy with her. It sounds like a real investment. So maybe give some background into that and why. What are we talking about in terms of trauma?
Sure. So her work is really, it started with just students that have things in their life as they're growing up that could affect how they behave at school, their academic progress at school. And so our district is really just focusing on educating the people in the building, from the teachers to the office staff to the custodians to the bus drivers, on common language to use with students, on common practices that we could use with students. And coming off of the pandemic, I think this is very timely, and I think probably everyone would probably agree has been going through this because we've all been through some trauma, staff included. So it's just all working together on building those strong relationships to help students, to help support them, so that when we get to academics, they're able to focus on that, those 10 things that she talked about to make sure your brain is ready and healthy and ready to learn. We're just focusing on those things, that how we can support students outside of academics so they can really focus on their academics.
A lot of the national research just talks about, whether ACE is another term, adverse childhood experiences. I mean, that kids go through, when we see the behavior, the grade, whatever it is, there's a whole lot of reasons that happens, and we know that. But this trauma-informed practice really talks about, instead of just dealing with the behavior, let's deal with why the behavior took place, why the homework completion, whatever it is, whatever's happening on the end. How do we go back and see why, what happened, what traumatic experience happened? And then it's not an excuse, but if we know that going in at every level, how do we deal with it differently? The big thing is there's triggers that, the kids are going to try to trigger you because they want that negative attention, because at some point they had a traumatic experience, that negative attention becomes what they feed off of. There's tons of, terminology, a common language we've really worked on. Bethany's on the spot here, she's like, what is this? Everyone wants to jump in and add some of the stuff we've worked on. Kristen, this is big work.
They're letting you.
Yeah, no one's jumping off. Kristen's a national author. She's one of many people doing this work right now nationally. Just really talking about how do we deal with kids, knowing they had the experience. And for us, it's about everybody. We've had every district member go through, and it's a 2-hour training, so it's not real in depth at every level, but just to know, hey, this is what kids are going through. This is what brain-based research is telling us about the experiences they've had. How do we help support them? How do we help get them through that? How do we become a supportive part of that network that's going to help have a kid overcome these experiences, not kind of wallow in it?
One quote that a couple times we've met with Kristen, and she said it both times, and every time I write this down, and it just speaks to me, is that every behavior from a student is just an expression of need. I think it's just really diving in what are those needs and how do we meet them the best way we can. So.
We can get the book if any board member wants it. I mean, Kristen's got a couple books that we reference. And if anyone wants one, you can read it just to know what we're doing.
I highly recommend it. They're both.
Dr. Whitwell could have given this talk much better than I could have, I think, but she's not.
You got some copies, it won't be a bad thing.
Yeah, we've got copies, we'll get them.
This looks like it's being integrated on 2 or 3 levels, and I'm guessing we're going to hear on the 3rd one too. Maybe we ought to get a few copies.
Let's not jump to the high school yet. Let's see if they've ever. No, we'll see.
No.
They're really going to be all like this.
There was that I was up here when you asked the questions, Carl.
There's a lot of terminology that I heard.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any questions for anybody to the floor?
I will say one Bethany's here. I'll give one other kudo. We started a new practice too. We talked a lot about we coach our teachers. That's something we've done for the last couple of years. And we started a more intense coaching model. And Bethany did it with a staff member a couple weeks ago. And we taped it, went through it as a staff, and she did an amazing job. So,
thanks.
And all the things we're doing, Bethany really is putting a great effort into, and has been a leader for her principal. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You got grilled a little bit. We'll give you a little bit of kudos too.
My face super red.
Wait, one more question. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, I get to follow that up by talking about what we're doing with trauma-informed practices at the high school level. So we've also done some of those deep dives into the text with a group, as well as gone through the base level training for all of our staff, which has been really very productive and led to some really outstanding dialogue amongst all of us. You can see we've taken some of those key principles from Sauer's text and really parlayed that into some really good PD sessions that we're running at our late start. But we've tried to take it from theoretical to a little bit more practical too. So what we've done is we've started to evaluate in ourselves our strengths and weaknesses when it's dealing with students who may be affected by trauma, and exactly how we would handle students who have been affected by trauma. And so that's then also kind of moved into just conversations on how we work together to strengthen and repair relationships. So a lot of similarities what we're doing at the grade school, middle school, but also extending into maybe some more of the practical realm of it.
So I am here to talk about our academics this year because we know that while the kids were out with COVID, we missed about a year and a half of very good core solid math instruction. So we've really beefed up our practices in that area for this year. Two big things that we've added. One is a math interventionist at both high schools that is able to pull kids out as they are assessing a weakness on a skill. They're able to pull them out immediately and work with them on getting that skill up to speed before they go any further in their math class and get further behind. The other thing, just like the middle school spoke of, is we have blended math classes after school. And this is for kids that may have experienced gaps in their learning during COVID. Usually they're on grade level kids, but they have a gap here or there that we need to help them with, and it happens frequently, and so they can stay various times. Sometimes they come every day after school for a week. Sometimes they may come 3 days after school, just to make sure that they're on pace with their math instruction.
You know, again, kind of the idea, we're hitting kids a little bit below grade level and above with a variety of interventions, and going really well at this point.
Does anybody have any questions for high school principals or anybody? So comment. I mean, my younger son has been a beneficiary of this with the blended math and so forth. He loves it. The kid on the street who rides with us every morning loves it. And I mean, it's a movement toward getting everybody help if they want it or need it, rather than just focusing on one or two groups and trying to pull them up. So I think what's been going on, you know, has been really great, and I like to see that happening, and I'm interested to see how we adjust things post-COVID and what's coming from what you guys been focusing on.
I mean, it's a great opportunity to look at things we're doing now, and just like we talked about conferences a little while ago, evaluating everything and saying, okay, even once COVID's done, maybe these blended math interventions, you know, maybe it does reach a larger audience. We're having success, we know which currently we are. You know, the trauma-informed instruction, which is a huge national movement, you know, pick pieces of that, and we know we're going to go. We actually started that before COVID, surprisingly enough. We've been on this for a couple of years. COVID probably exacerbated the need across the board, but, you know, taking everything that we do during COVID that we thought was really positive and building off that going forward into a post-COVID world.
And it's the future too, by the way, too.
I mean, the math teachers are doing the blended stuff really enjoy it, I think, which is fun to see.
Anybody else have any comments or questions regarding the school improvement?
I thank the principals for coming and presenting.
Thanks for your input. Look forward to see what happens. All right, our next item then is the discussion of the INSP 2021 Resolutions Committee report. I believe that's Mr. Friedman.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I'm going to be the delegate at the conference this year. I wanted that on the agenda just so everybody could get a copy of the report, and if anybody had any questions, concerns, or discussion that they wanted to have on it.
Was there anything you felt like you needed more direction on?
No, I did want to mention, really no. There was one of the resolutions that the board is recommending that we vote yes is on some additional instruction for pre-certification teachers in reading, and that those teachers would need to pass another test prior to their certification. Talking to Mike, we're not facing the same problem that was meant to address, and it makes it harder for people to be certified in an environment where finding teachers is hard enough. So I plan to vote against that resolution, but other than that, there wasn't anything I was really looking for direction on after we saw the resolution.
Yeah, that one just specifically, you know, we don't think anything that's going to impede someone becoming a teacher right now is the right way to go. You know, teacher shortages are rampant, and we're incredibly confident when people get here of what we can do with literacy instruction. So on a very selfish point of view, we don't think we need that, and if you're going to stop people from being teachers right now, I think this is a bad move.
This is resolution for the to vote at the ISB meeting in November. Do board members have had the resolutions available to them. Do any board members have any items that they wish to discuss before that goes and make the results? Anything that they feel like we really need to have a discussion about? If not, we'll hand our proxies down and let them make the decisions for us. But anything that, again, anything that anyone was really concerned about?
And then I just end with, it's, I think 10 o'clock on the Saturday of the meeting, so if anybody else wants to go and, see it, it can be an interesting ride.
I've heard it can be actually kind of fun to watch, so if you're down at the meeting and want to go with it, let them know. If you just want to go without that, you can do that too.
It's like it was 2 years ago, you did see some interesting Robert's rules in action.
All right, there's no action we need to take with respect to this, so put ourselves in your capable hands. All right, next item is the approval of snow removal and salting bins.
Included in your packet tonight, there are the results of our bid process. We published an ad in the Independent on September 8th and received bids from 5 different companies. And the tabulation sheet, you can see the results of that bid. One thing of note is the last one, I believe it's Snow and Ice Management, appears to be the lowest bid, but they did not complete the bid application for the specifications, so they are considered unresponsive. So, any questions? We've got Steve Miller here as well, if you have specific questions. So we're looking for a motion for approval tonight.
Okay. Any board members have any questions with respect to the snow and ice removal? If not, there's a suggested motion on page 225 of your insert.
Move to award the bid for snow removal and salting for the 2021-2022 school year to the Langton Group.
Motion by Mr. Parisi, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Bidwell. Roll call, please.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Dr. Bidwell?
Yes.
Mr. Maselli?
Yes.
Mr. Homewood?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next item then is approval of the comprehensive annual financial report.
That would be, as you see the attachment in your packet, that it is the culmination of our audit report and includes a lot of different information. But tonight, to present that to you is Jeff Willis and Parker with Evans, Marshall, and Peace. And if you have any questions regarding that, Jeff will be happy to address that.
Thanks, Julie. Just like to thank Julie and her staff for all of their help during the audit this year. We were able to be on site during the audit due to the safety measures instituted by the business office, and we thank them for their diligence in that. This year, there is one new accounting policy instituted. You've adopted it was regarding student activity funds, where in the past, student activity funds were considered fiduciary funds. While included in the report, they were presented separately from the other funds. With the adoption of the new GASB standard, these are now included in the educational fund of the district. The prior year has been restated to conform to this new presentation. So it's a little bit different than what you saw last year. Also, when reviewing the financial statements, keep in mind that the district's financial information throughout the year, as well as its budget, are presented on the cash basis of accounting. However, the year-end financial statements are presented on a modified accrual basis. In the report, though, the cash basis statements that you do see will be indicated as a budget basis. So when you're going through and it says budget basis, that's a cash basis presentation. We have issued an unmodified opinion for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2021 on the financial statements of the district. As such, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the district in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Also, this year, a single audit was conducted as required because the district spent $750,000 federal grant monies. This is a specific audit covering strictly federal grant programs. The federal program report covers this additional audit. There were no findings to report this year with the federal program audit. The audit was completed And the financial statements will be filed on time with the ROE, the ISPE, and the Data Clearinghouse. And also the report will be submitted to IASCO for the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting Award, again this year. So if there are any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Well, I guess I have questions. Any surprises?
No surprises.
Nothing that stuck out to you that was unusual or anything like that?
No, no findings.
All right, does anybody have any other questions regarding the financials audit? Okay, Don, there's a suggested motion on page 227 of your materials.
Move to accept and place on file the comprehensive annual financial report for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second. Motion by Mr. Parisi, seconded by Mr. Holmes. Roll call, please.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Maselli?
Yes.
Dr. Bidwell?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes. Thank you for coming through the presentation. Thank you for your hard work on financial. Thank you. Okay then, next item on our agenda is the discussion of school start and end.
We're back. So we took a swing at it last time, came up a little short, and we worked with transportation, looked at all the feedback we got, and we shared with the board over the weekend a new proposal. I think it's much more moderate, it meets the needs that we were looking for. So just to kind of go over it quickly, it's a 10-minute earlier start for elementary, 7:20. But transportation thinks the bus pickup time doesn't have to move back 10 minutes though. She's confident that we can get it done. The most we move back is 5 as far as pickup time. So it's not like we're going to be picking up 10 minutes earlier, which would be a little bit of a concern maybe. They get out 1:40, so they get out 20 minutes earlier. The guarantee we're giving is that parents are used to picking up at 2 o'clock and they still have anything there from the schedule, we'll still do it. We'll have students supervised until 2 o'clock, it's not a problem at all. Dearson, they're going to start 20 minutes earlier and then 25 minutes earlier, but again, the 2:55 stop that they have now, we will honor that. We'll supervise students to that point if parents need that for their schedule. So buses will still run earlier, but if parents need us to keep the kids and pick them up, we'll absolutely do that. Middle school starting later, 8:55, getting out at 3:40, 10 minutes later. High school starting at 8:45, getting out at 3:30, it stays the same. The big difference, the reason we were able to do this, transportation really thought out of the box, and we can get Dearson done quicker because instead of 16 routes, we can have more than 16 routes now because we've got an entire fleet to move Dearson because it's a third tier. That's how we were able to do this. We were thinking before of, okay, we've got these 16 drivers, how are we going to work that in? And it was transportation. Diane just called me one day and said, hey, it doesn't need to be 16 drivers anymore. It can be whatever we need because it's a whole different tier. So we can do it quicker now, which allows us to stick it in the middle of the day, or middle of the progression from elementary, between elementary, middle, and high, which has allowed for what I think is a better schedule than we brought last time. I think minor changes.
I'll make sure I understand. Elementary is going to start 10 minutes earlier, but the bus routes will not be affected by 10 minutes, they'll be affected by 5 minutes.
Generally, that could change, but that's our general thought, yes.
All right. And there will be supervision for elementary students up until 2 p.m.
If parents want to pick them up, the buses will leave.
But
yeah, absolutely.
Here it is, and they're going to start 20 minutes early, they'll be 20 minutes earlier, there'll be supervision until 2:55, same as...
Yes.
I'm not sure how that would impact the buses. They would start...
The buses still run, the buses are going to run earlier.
How much earlier?
20 minutes, 25, as early as they get out. Yeah, 20, 25 minutes.
All right. And with middle school, it's start time at 8:55, end time at 3:40. At high school, it's start time at 8:45, end time at 3:30. I'm assuming there will be some adjustments to bus schedules for those as well.
There are, and we're shaving a couple minutes off the class period in the middle of high school, unfortunately, to make it work. That's the give and take of it. And at the elementary.
What time would you do to start?
8:20.
8:20 is the start time?
Yes. It's 20 minutes earlier than currently.
Mike, did you end up having to shave any time off of any of the day at Dearson or at the elementary schools?
Yeah, 10 minutes in the elementary and 5 minutes at Dearson.
Okay, but nothing's getting like removed, it's just a little bit shorter on different things, okay.
No, everything will exist the same as this schedule was.
So what do you need in order to make this?
Well, I wouldn't want, I'm not gonna ask you to vote for 2 weeks. I want you to be able to digest it, for people to have a chance to comment if they like. But I want to present it, and then if the board, and again, if you don't want to do it, we understand that. I can come back with another option. But you know, transportation thinks they need this. I meet with Art on Tuesday. They walked in at 9 o'clock today. I'm walking in with kids getting off the bus at Woodstock High School at 9 o'clock, and it's not an unusual thing. You know, we can't get kids home. You know, and again, it's going to get worse. I mean, we're hiring drivers, we do everything we can, but the winter is going to be even worse than this, and we're having a hard time. This allows transportation to function at an appropriate level, and they believe we need it.
Do you think it gives us any wiggle room in the event something happens, or are we still right up to the? We have all the buses we need, and we have no more to use, and we can't go with any less.
Well, you know, there's lots of things that we can't control. It gets us about what we have today for drivers. You know, I mean, and we've got, you know, we hired 7. Our attrition rate's about 50% by the time we go through the entire process. But in a month, when we're able to do this, we can bring 4 more on. We have a couple coming back off of, you know, injuries, long-term stuff. So hopefully, if we start to build up to the point where we can have someone sick and we can replace them for a couple days, this gets us much closer to that. I think we can function at an adequate level in this schedule. That's what the transportation department believes.
Does this change late start time?
Yeah, we're going to work that in, because we were talking about that. That's a really late start for the high school. We have to think about that and come back to it with you. Because I don't love starting at 10 o'clock. I think the high school principals and I have concerns about that. So we can look and see if there's a different way to bus it, or maybe look at some other options.
If this were approved at the next meeting, when would you want to start it?
You probably need to give people 2 weeks, I think, just to get all their affairs in order, to make sure to give them enough time. We'll send something out Friday, if you want me to. Again, if the board doesn't want to move forward with this, we'll stop it today. But if you're okay moving forward, at least to have a discussion, we'll let parents know on Friday. We'll have a mailing go out, so they're aware of it. Vote in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, we look to implement. Or if you want 3 weeks, we could do that. That's negotiable, whatever you want.
Is it acceptable?
No, I was just going to say, I think we should get this out Friday, and I think that if we get it out Friday, 2 weeks after the next board meeting makes sense.
Everybody go with that?
Yeah, do it all.
Okay.
We're just trying to have an answer on the late start before we get it sent out, so that we don't have that becoming an issue. Like the last time. You know, it's a major concern.
Yeah, I mean, okay, then we'll have it done by Friday. It's possible we can't do it because 10 o'clock's way too late. We just.
I was looking at middle school and
Yeah.
will be 10 o'clock.
We don't love that, so we'll have to look at that. But we'll have an answer by Friday for sure when we send it out. That's a good point, thank you.
Okay, that's all new business. We'll move into committee reports. Have any committees met, or are there any reports since our last meeting?
So the District 200 Foundation Committee met, and they arrived at the conclusion this time that they're not going to be going forward with an in-person event this year. However, they're going to be running various raffles through an online portal. They're going to be getting information on that out, I believe, in December.
Thanks. Any other committees? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. By Mr. Parisi, second please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maselli, roll call please.
Mr. Parisi?
Yeah.
Mr. Maselli?
Yes.
Mr. Homer?
Yes.
Dr. Bidwell?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.